You hear the screeching of an owl, you hear the wind begin to howl. You know there's zombies on the prowl. And it's terror time again. They've got you running through the night. It's terror time again. And you just might die of fright. It's a terrifying time.
Hello everyone. We're taking a look at the Over the River mod by Woldren. Have you ever noticed the fact there's a big chunk of land on the other side of the river from West Point that's entirely unused? Well, this mod seeks to fix that. We're also covering the secondary route mod that's an expansion on this one, and it adds a path that cars can use to access this region. As previously, you could only enter it via foot via the smaller, thinner path on the north or west point with a boat. Before we start the video, I want to say thank you to Katophoenix for her lovely artwork, and thank you for all the support. Now let's dive in, shall we? This new route, which is added via secondary mod, this adds a small expansion on the Valley Station, which comes with a new fossil oil gas station that also doubles as a spawn point if you use the spawn decision at the start of a run. While a typical gas station, that is, it also makes Valley Station more viable as this adds more resources to the area, and the fact the bathrooms inside the station have proper cabinets, which means you can also get medical loot to spawn there as well. But the main part of this expansion is the fact that there's now a nice wide bridge that'll let you drive a car right over. But keep in mind, this bridge isn't super wide and it can be blocked with wrecked cars if you're not lucky. Another benefit of this, however, is the fact it adds a spawn point in the Valley Station itself. So now you can more easily explore that region as well without having to mess around with either exit from West Point. A solid starting place either way. Just keep in mind you will have to install the secondary mod for this route to exist. Both will be linked in the description of the video. Hell, if you wanted to say just use this particular mod and have a way into that part over the river and build your own custom base there, that's also an option. If you're using the secondary route mod alongside this may very well be the first location you encounter in this region, and a good encounter it is. While there is definitely a chance for a large amount of zombies, this place is a fantastic haul of loot. With 5 separate warehouses, all having second floors, there's a fantastic amount of hardware loot available here. Couple that with the sheer amount of logs outside the buildings for a large amount of lumber, and even more trees that you could cut down if you run out of those, you could build this place into a veritable fortress. I mean, knock down all the staircases on the first floors, board up everything, add sheet ropes and build walkways for building the building, you've got a nice amount of potential here. Definitely give this location a visit if you're in need of that building fix. Just be careful to not get overrun, as the hordes can definitely surprise you here around corners. I mean, I killed around 50 zombies in this one area. This area is divided into 3 parts. 2 of them being relatively benign and fairly safe as far as areas in a zombie apocalypse can be anyways. Let's start with the top, the mod area. The top part is the shipyard itself. Fairly reasonable with a moderate amount of zombies and a ton of cargo containers that have lots of loot potential inside them. If you can get them open, that is. There's also an armory on the eastern end of the shipyard, which is nice, but it won't help you much with what's to come. Unless you want to cut off your exit with the sound of the firearms attracting the hordes from the city above. The next segment is our most dangerous area by far. This boat is filled with hundreds of zombies. You can see them crawling around on the lower level below the engine room as they scramble to try and find a way to you. The halls are jam-packed and it's going to be a fight to get into the deeper parts of the ship, especially as whenever you make progress, the zombies will swarm from the other levels and push you back towards the entrance you came from. Whatever you do, make sure your escape route is clear above all else. Clear out the rearward path you came from if you don't want to meet a quick, agonizing end. Once you finally fight through the the hundreds of zombies in this ship, you'll be able to make it to the top and head to the northern shore of West Point. But don't forget to take the time to loot the many rooms of the ship within. Hell, you could even take this as a base if you wanted to. Keep in mind that this is the only other route into this area if you're not using the secondary route mod with this. So be ready to fight hard. Now the third and final part of this area is the southern broken bridge which the ship is docked to. And using this path, you can run down the end until you hit a staircase and climb to the northern shore of West Point, popping out near the edge of town that has the picnic tables and fishing docks. This area has some zombies, but it's not nearly as much as the boat itself had. Just take your time, be careful, and you'll come out just fine. I also like the fact the top has been converted into a makeshift bridge shanty town, much like the highway town that you see when you go to deliver the letter in Fallout 3. Arafu, I think it was called? Just make sure you don't fall down the stairs on your way down and shatter your legs. And if this area sounds too dangerous to you, consider using the auto yacht mod to drive a boat across the river instead, as that would probably be a much safer idea. Have you ever wanted to live in a sports arena? Well, if that's the case, here's your chance. This is another shantytown. This place converts a fairly large former soccer arena into a survivor space that could provide you with plenty of resources. And given how large it is, it would take zombies quite some time to reach your location once they do manage to break down the arena's outer doors and breach the facility. Plus, with its size, you'd have plenty of freedom to move and fight without fear of cramped conditions cutting off your movement or escape. There's also several levels, which include more homes on the second floor and bleachers that lead to a third floor that lets you see off into the distance of the town quite nicely, which gives you a bird's eye view of all of those scum-sucking zombies. Overall, it's yet another interesting and useful place. The only downside is the buildings seem to have no lighting at all. Not even the main rooms, the locker rooms, the bathrooms, or the buildings built by the survivors. The only place that has light is the middle area, and that's because it's open to the sky. If you want to see easier, you'll have to install lights of your own in this area. Otherwise, this place is spacious in a central area and has plenty of buildings inside to get you started on crafting your own base. I'm sure many of us have fond memories of San Andreas, Grove Street especially. Many of us grew up on that street, learning words and actions we were definitely too young for. But that's enough rambling. Clearly this modder felt the same way, as they have lovingly recreated the houses of the Grove Street neighborhood. That's right, you could base up in your old crib from San Andreas, and now use it to fight off the hordes of the undead. Just treat them like those baller fucks. If you want to find this place, you're gonna have to travel to the northeastern corner of the map and go just a little bit inward there. Once here, clear out the hood and head in through the garage. Light up and make fun of those buster-ass zombies as they attempt to invade your neighborhood. Overall, it's a pretty good recreation despite the fact that most of the homes in GTA you don't get to see the actual interiors. Now I just need a cheat code to spawn a tank and we'll be golden. Now this is what the vanilla military base really should have been. An entire sprawling compound filled with buildings of all types with plenty to see and explore. Let's start with the entrance, shall we? To even get in, we're gonna have to continue along that northern road, the same one that has this game's interpretation of Grove Street. You'll see the large high fences and you'll eventually come to a path inwards into the base. You'll be able to walk right in and explore freely. From here you could go to the left towards a few small radio buildings and continue further you'll find big aircraft and maintenance hangars. If you're looking for some quick easy weapons, head down here right off the bat and you'll get a huge armory's worth in one of of the most northern hangars, as well as a decent haul of hardware equipment too. The barracks mostly have personal property and stuff like that, but some do also have armory rooms as well for even more firepower. One of the most important parts of this base, however, is the military hospital. This place is huge and very worthwhile to visit. It has a ton of medical supplies, both in the patient's rooms and in a large concentrated medical supply storage room. It has a vast amount of food in the on-site cafeteria to help keep you well fed, and even another decent sized armory, as well as a prison cell which can be used to quarantine infected players for that role-playing experience. There's also even an office building as well for the non-grunt and maintenance jobs. Overall, I'm a fan of this military base and the variety it brings to the area. Be sure to check this point out if you get the time, especially as it'll make for a fantastic armory while being close to Valley Station and West Point. Honestly, it could give you the supplies you need if you want to make a serious take on West Point. If you've ever watched Breaking Bad, then you'll probably recognize this iconic house. Sadly, there's not a pizza on the roof, because that'd be freaking delicious. This area isn't anything too fancy, however. It's just another pop culture reference, a recreation of an iconic house from a show. But unlike Grove Street, which is an entire neighborhood, this is just one meth dealer's suburban home. I include this more just because I found it to be a cool reference. It is nicely placed in a rather large neighborhood though, so that's a good benefit, especially as its centralized location makes it easy to loot nearby homes and businesses for their supplies. One issue I do have with this place is the garage door does not work. It has that same issue many modded maps have, where when you open the door, there's a wall behind it barring you from walking in, but you can still see in it. Otherwise, it's not a bad place, plus you can even fish from the pool in the backyard, which is also walled off, so that'd make it pretty nice for farming. Just grab a bag to lay down some dirt and you're good to go. Overall, I'm impressed with Woldren's work on this mod. While this ship is definitely a death trap if you're not careful, to the point that it may be better to install the auto yacht mod and circumvent it, if you don't use the creator's provided secondary route mod to add a regular bridge, as that broken bridge and boat has hundreds of zombies within it. It is fun as hell though to battle your way through it, but be prepared for a very bloody, very dangerous fight. I'm also amused with the various pop culture references throughout the map, and I also very much enjoy the military base. Another benefit for this map is there's a variant of Eris's mini-map that adds support to this region as well, so install that if you'd like to use mini-maps to help your travels. The architecture is pretty good overall, and the layout's pretty good. Kick-ass work, Woldren. Now I'd like to thank y'all for the constant support. Thank y'all for all the subscriptions, all the support, all the likes, comments. Sincerely, the feedback is much appreciated. I'd also like to thank Katophoenix, today's artist, once again. She does fantastic work. Be sure to check her out down below. This has been Core, and I'll see you in the next video.